Hi everybody, Scott George here again. This is another episode of The Wolf and the Neural Network. Today we're going to discuss Tricia Ralph, the Privacy Commissioner of Nova Scotia, and one of her employees, Jason Mighton. August 2nd, 2022, I was falsely arrested and tortured by Nova Scotia Health Authority. As part of that process, they took my book bag, put a sticker on it with my name, gave it to a sketch-through homeless man, self-admittedly on drugs, and then pretended that that was me. If you check the initial records between Halifax Regional Police and NSHA states I was found protesting. It says that nowhere's in HRP records. The very first log is complete fraud. Well, in fact, what I said to the admitting lady was she had taken my blood pressure, and I said, that seems really good, isn't it? And she said, actually, it's really good considering the circumstances. Do you know why you were brought in here? And I said, well, I went down to file a complaint against the chief of police. They said they were conflict of interest. Went to get me a paper to file a complaint and just came back and arrested me. She said, really? Are the handcuffs really necessary? And the officer couldn't even look her in the eye. Right, I have Kristen Carey Lynn home covering up that a man touched me inches above my penis. She then retaliated, and I have audio recordings in her notes saying she said we talked about this. The audio recording claims shows she absolutely fabricated records and completely slandered and defamed me with the intention of retaliating and covering up the serious abuse by these individuals. I then took this information to Karen Hornberger, the Director of Privacy, who completely mangled the story and stated that I basically must have done something to deserve it, deferred me to the Privacy Commissioner of Nova Scotia because she knows it takes 4 years. I get a copy of my notes through CPS-NS, or the notes from the doctors. Very first page, it states that my book bag and belongings, including my wallet, was brought in with the previous client mistakenly exactly as I stated. Right, and then you see the contents of my wallet, which is my financial identity and PHI, my health card information. If you check Karen Hornberger's own documentation, it states that health card number and health card is absolutely PHI, and any breach must be reported. Right? On the first page where you think the privacy director would check. So I'm speaking with CPS and asked the lead investigator, Crystal Morgan, and the registrar and CEO, Douglas Grant. I submit 5 times stating that here's the thing about my book bag. I speak with Crystal Morgan on the phone stating that I want to provide this piece about my book bag to the Privacy Commissioner of Nova Scotia. She says, no, it's a violation of Section 46. So Douglas Grant and Crystal Morgan then reply stating there's absolutely no evidence about my book bag. There it is right there on the first page. You would think the lead investigator would check the first page. Well, I'd also provided 5 different references to it. And here's Douglas Grant, the CEO and registrar, non-contestably lying about that event. Here I am reporting the serious abuse to Tricia Ralph and Jason Mighton. You know what they reply? Oh, this is resolved. This isn't critical. This isn't serious. I've got resignations of premiers, chief of police resigning. There were rape calls. There were serious events of fraud. There is direct evidence and confirmation by journalist Brett Ruskin and David Pudgley's of EMIC operating psychological warfare, target audience analysis in Nova Scotia. My GPS location being set there confirms the dates of the contracts, meaning I was literally targeted by psychological warfare. And where's Tricia Ralph? Right? I've got the Premier, Tim Houston, showing up the morning that my mother passed away, January 29, 2023. Well, I've got neighbors reporting lights in my house. Break and enter. I've got police officers on recording lying and threatening me, but this is just resolved, all using these fraudulent records as justification and using the inaction of Tricia Ralph. And this is just resolved. If anybody touched Tricia Ralph just inches above her vagina, do you think that would just be resolved? Any of her family? No, she'd have a serious problem with it. Here's Douglas Grant completely lying, committing fraud. Do you think that she'd accept that if it was her or family? No, she'd be horrified and disgusted. So where is Tricia Ralph and Jason Mighton? Right? You know that this has nothing to do with facts and evidence, right? No, the Privacy Commissioner of Nova Scotia knows they made serious mistakes and they'd have to face that. So Tricia Ralph can only pretend that she's a victim and a hero at this stage, right? She's going to claim I'm some problem, blah, blah, blah. They're just victims, yeah, it's complicated, this and that, right? It's not complicated. I'm going to give you more examples of this. So in August 2023, I'm sitting in my house. I get a call from a bailiff stating they have something for me. Show up. I get 3 documents from Nova Scotia Health Authorities. Anthony Jocko claiming that I was at Nova Scotia Health Authority and I'm being trespassed. He then states that this Vizwar Jarhill person witnessed that I was at this physical location and signed this, stating that they read this document to me. I'm sitting in my house and Ecom absolutely did nothing. CSIS and RCMP know this. Well, 6 days later, that very same chief I filed a complaint against, Dan Kinsella, resigns. And here they are falsely creating this document because they know, right, which is my personal health information and my identity information, because they know that Tricia Ralph isn't going to do anything. Right? Another solid example. Go back to when Kristen Holm lied about what we talked about when she admitted me. She said we talked about Stephen Harper and Bell Media. We didn't talk about that. She wanted to obscure Post Media and Stephen McNeil because it all made sense, right? When you look at it, she needed to do this so that she could make me look disorganized. So even if I was right, look, I was this, right? So she just changed this information just after she looked at me and said, I'm just doing this to help you live your best life. And then goes and lies in the record like this. So this information of fabrication was provided to Douglas Grant. He said there's no evidence of fabrication. Right there, you can listen to it, see it for yourself. She completely lied about it. She lied to trick Douglas Grant into what he was going to do next. Douglas Grant then sends my personal and confidential information, his fraud. He knows Kristen Holm lied about this. There's recorded evidence about it. All this stuff with my book bag. He knows he made serious mistakes. He sends this to Cox and Palmer, who employ Stephen McNeil in a significant capacity. What Kristen Holm was lying about, why she lied about that, and who stated to me that in the situation, they are a conflict of interest because some sort of interaction with J.D. Irving. But here he is sending this off to them. So I then tell him that this is a serious issue. You know what he does? Continues to send more fraud to Cox and Palmer. Well, he disallows me to request any information about myself. So Douglas Grant could justify lying and defaming me and slandering me on the record with Hannah Marie Weimer on March 13, 2023, when they had me arrested and tortured again after filing complaint at Halifax Regional Police. Right? He knew he made serious mistakes, and if he backtracks, everything looks really bad for Hannah Marie Weimer, and it objectively does. But he has to keep pushing forward, so he has to keep committing fraud, pretending he's the victim. All because he knows exactly what Tricia Ralph is. If you check the land registration events for where the residence where my phone's GPS location was set, you associate it with EMIC, right? This is a subsidiary of SCL Group, a defense contractor and a sister company of Cambridge Analytica. They were involved in global parliamentary inquiries into election interference. So we've got serious instances of election interference. Cambridge Analytica, who went through global parliamentary inquiries, including inquiries by our own federal privacy commissioner operating right here in Nova Scotia, going through psychological warfare. You have Emma Bryant, who was involved in that whole thing, now interested in the events that occurred here in Nova Scotia. And where's the privacy commissioner of Nova Scotia? She's just a victim, and you and your families must have done something to deserve it. Well, if this was a glitch, multiple federal departments may be using this spyware and so planting evidence on users' devices, compromising serious national security investigations. We got election interference. We've got Cambridge Analytica, these massive privacy issues right here in Nova Scotia. And where's the privacy commissioner of Nova Scotia? That's right, you've never heard of her before. She's being spoon-fed like a child, like a baby, and she still can't do the job. Here's her putting out her hands, asking for more money. And this person, Jason Mighton, has the nerve to reply to me stating that this is resolved. If Tricia Ralph and Jason Mighton do not pick up this case and respond with some dignity and explain to me how a sexual assault is just resolved, or how a CEO and president and registrar of CPS-NS blatantly committing fraud and lying is just resolved. If they don't pick up this case in 1 week, I am absolutely requesting termination with cause on their HR files. Do you understand me? If I am not contacted by Tricia Ralph to show some basic level of integrity, I am absolutely going to demand her termination. Tim Houston, how can you look at those two? How can you look at her put her hands out and beg for more money when she's being spoon-fed by a global technical expert, and the best that she can do is pretend that she's some kind of victim and hero? And she can't even answer basic questions. She can't even tell a Nova Scotian Canadian who to take this to. What is the value in Tricia Ralph? There is no value. And now for her to pretend she's the victim and hero after all this abuse that I've suffered and she can't even answer basic questions, it's spitting in the face of every single Nova Scotian. Tricia Ralph cannot be allowed to maintain it or continue in this position, and I absolutely will not stand by and allow this to happen. Do you understand me? Nova Scotia, take a look at Tricia Ralph. You never heard of her before. Here she is being spoon-fed, given the keys to the castle, and what is she doing with it? Nothing. She did nothing before. Money isn't going to help her, right? Look what she's going to do if your kids come to her, your families, show her this massive kind of evidence about them being framed and abuse against them. She's going to help these parties cover it up as long as she benefits from it, right? She's going to help corrupt cops cover up serious abuse. She's going to cover up humiliation, degradation, hate crimes, as long as she benefits from it. And then she's going to turn around, puts her hands out and ask for more money and pretend to be a victim and hero. Well, she's being spoon-fed by a global technical expert. You know what Tricia Ralph is. You knew before this, but to have it laid out so well, it is so disappointing, and it's just so beyond disturbing at the same time. Tricia Ralph, you have exactly 1 week. Jason Mighton, same thing. If you do not respond with some respect and dignity in 1 week, I absolutely am asking for termination with cause on your HR file. If you are found to be lying in any way, shape, or form, I will absolutely move for criminal charges. All right? You can avoid this just by being a decent human being for once in your life. You're getting a chance at a third chance here. I recommend you take it.